Well, yeah, we are a bit behind, so... Okay, so welcome to Link's Awakening DX. This is going to be a Group E match between whitewolfos and mghtymth.
whitewolfos coming in with a 1 hour, 25 minutes, 44 second PB. mghtymth coming in at 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 31 seconds. We were just talking before the race, actually, Carbone and I, hello, that we think we'll see probably a couple PBs today, unless something happens. And just like that, the runners start.
Both of these are relatively new runners, so the potential to get a PB is very, very high at this stage.
Yeah, we would have seen a PB from Wolfos in her last race if it wasn't for that soft block. I think, yeah, we were actually both commentating that race, weren't we?
Yep.
So as Carbone already said, this is Link's Awakening DX. This category is no save and quit, no save and quitting to kind of warp around, no wrong warps, kind of in the same vein, and no out of bounds. Out of bounds being actually kind of hard to explain just with words, but it won't be going in any place really weird.
So I want to say this could potentially have the makings of a pretty close race.
Yeah, I think potentially. And then Wolfos going for kind of the old school quicksword route. mghtymth kind of missing the damage boost. He's going to end up with a similar quicksword. Actually, is he going to get the quicksword at all? With the,
no, he's not going to get
position?
it. Not close enough.
Okay, so mghtymth will lose a couple seconds, maybe there, maybe a second. Not that big of a deal, but
I mean, that damage boost strat is a risk, and sometimes it doesn't pay off.
yeah, some runners don't even do it, actually. So both runners going up to the forest now, getting the Dungeon 1 key. We'll see a nice little damage boost, some movement tech. But until then, I feel like we forgot something. Kind of jumped into this really quick. What did we forget, Karon?
I don't think we've actually really forgotten much.
I don't know. Wolfos picking up a safety heart. That was kind of a smart move.
I was going to mention like the start of their group, but honestly, this match doesn't have that big a bearing on the outcome of that group. Because the other two in this group are Spice Father and Green Tunic, both have 1 win each. And well, let's be honest, that both of those are experienced runners.
Yeah, it is Link's Awakening, so anything could happen. There could be some kind of crazy soft block for Green Tunic or Spice Father, but yeah, you're probably right. But like you said, I'd like to just see a close race, really. And so far, that's what we have. Both runners picking up some rupees and opening the save and quit menu on chests. You'll see them be doing that a lot. That just saves some text time on the chests.
Now, funny thing is, the only chest in the game that it isn't quicker to pull up the save and quit menu is the one that they just did it on.
Well, so I've been told by my friend Disclude, you might have heard of him, that if you do it fast enough on that chest, it actually is a minor time save, like a handful of frames maybe. So I still do it just because, you know, kind of muscle memory at this point anyway. Both runners look like they're going to get... Ooh, both runners failing the
both
moblin
of them
skip. Getting
quite a bad moblin skip. whitewolfos earlier on got sniped by the one on the other side. So this trick is not that nice to new runners. whitewolfos has it, mghtymth doesn't.
Yeah, mghtymth actually taking you to death. Not a crazy costly death there since you kind of respawn really close, but, you know, waste time nonetheless.
So what we're doing here, we're basically clipping into the wall on the right, to stay on the pit as long as we can, waiting for the moblin to fire us over. But there's quite a bit of RNG with the moblin facing upwards. mghtymth getting owl skip, which is frame perfect.
I don't know if you noticed, Wolfos narrowly avoiding a death there. That was kind of good to hold back. Nice little safety strat there, and picking up another heart as well, since there is risk of dying to that dog right there you can see on her screen after coming out of the trendy game.
Are we gonna... Oh no, we're not gonna see our first death to dog in this tournament.
No, I don't believe so. Barring
Also,
some sort of weird miracle.
Here's something for chat. Is it a dog or is it a fox?
Yes, chat, not me, so.
Yeah.
And I don't have an answer for you either way, so.
Ooh, Mighty coming close to getting second try there.
Both runners do get first try trendy game. We'll see if we have. There's a race after this one, so we'll see if we'll get 4 first try trendy games today.
I'm willing to bet Stanner won't get first try trendy game.
We'll have to see. Chat says Fox, so I don't know why there's.
I say dog, but some say fox.
I say dog as well because it makes more sense for a dog to be running around a town, but I don't know. We've kind of been overridden here.
But do we know Bow Wow is a dog?
I think that's confirmed for sure. That's in the lore. So both runners stealing a couple items from the shop, buying a couple sets of bombs, just kind of setting up for the run. Wolfos a little bit ahead here, but we didn't mention earlier, this is what I forgot, that mghtymth is actually an Oracle runner. He runs Oracle of Seasons, so he's a little new to this game, but he has had some experience with the Game Boy Zeldas in the past, so we'll see if he can pull out maybe some more optimized movement strats and kind of gain on Wolfos here.
You say that, but that could be both a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah, the games are different enough, I suppose.
In the Oracles, particularly with the Pegasus boots, and in Oracles they have Pegasus seeds, which are substantially different to the Pegasus boots in this game. But I guess that's also sort of similar to the way that Link to the Past, the boots are completely different to the boots in here as well.
Yeah, I think the boots in this game have the best feeling mechanics out of... Well, I haven't played the Oracle games in the speedrun context before, but compared to Link to the Past, I like the boots in this game better. The boots in Link to the Past, when you're charging them, you kind of have to stand still. Not kind of, you do have to stand still. In this game, you can move around for a little bit before the boots actually fire, so you can kind of do some nice movement tech and kind of make some optimal routes that way.
You can, what is it we call it? Boots buffering.
So whitewolfos heading up to the first dungeon item, the feather. Probably, as everyone says, the most broken item in the game. Allows for a lot of interesting movement tech and allows for one of the biggest, I guess you could call it, sequence-breaking glitches in the game. Super jumps.
So, I don't think we've talked about wall clipping. So, wall clipping is a major part of this game, particularly with the tech, but also with movement optimization. In terms of tech, we're going to see what wall clipping does with super jumps in a bit. But wall clipping enables so many of these glitches that we use in the run.
So you'll see a nice super jump from Wolfos here. Clip into the wall, trick the game into thinking you're on a ledge, lets you get higher, lets her jump over that key block there and pick up the nightmare key early without picking up as many keys. And then you'll see the same from mghtymth. Kind of curious super jump on the way back for Wolfos. I don't really understand that one. I think it works the same, but it's an interesting setup. And then one more to get across these blocks. That super jump, you kind of clip that mghtymth's on right now. You kind of clip into this little barrier here, and that allows you to do the same mechanics of a super jump without actually doing the same movements of a super jump.
Jumping downstairs.
Yeah, basically. Don't try that at home.
So they bring up the save and quit menu when they get a chest to cancel the text. God, what did I start in chat with?
What's
Whether
that?
that's a dog or a fox.
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
there's an entire discussion about it, yeah.
I mean, I think it's great. I'm wrong, apparently, according to them. But...
Same here. So, it's still pretty even at the end of Dungeon 1.
Yeah, both runners picking up the first dungeon instrument and then heading up to D2. But first, they're going to pick up our companion for the run, Bow Wow. You'll see him in a minute. But before that, even, we're going to see some what seem like arbitrary kills from both runners, kind of killing these Octoroks on Wolfos' screen, or at least attempting to. Would you like to explain Piece of Power, Carbone?
Okay, so in this game, we have two power-ups. I'll talk about Guardian Acorn in a second. But the main one we use is Piece of Power, and we get this every 30 kills. a death or a save and quit will reset, so you won't see us in save and quit except for in Dungeon 3. But you will see it in this run, providing they don't die, for instance. And what Piece of Power does is that it increases your movement when you're in a dungeon. Well, increase your movement everywhere. It also gives you a knockback on your sword, which also provides NPCs with invincibility frames, which can be unfortunate. And we'll see an instance in Dungeon 5 where we don't actually want that to happen. And so once you have Piece of Power, you will lose it if you exit a dungeon, if you enter a dungeon, or if you get hit 3 times by enemies. So we want to get in the dungeons, because we'd lose it if we go out of the dungeons with it. So our routing is that we want to get in the first 2 rooms of Dungeon 2. Now, the second power-up is the Guardian Acorn, which can also make Piece of Power routing a little bit annoying, because the Guardian Acorn will drop every 12 kills that you haven't taken damage for, and this can interfere with Piece of Power drops.
So whitewolfos and mghtymth both picking up Bow Wow. Kind of mentioned him a second ago. Bow Wow is sort of a pet that you're supposed to rescue for a NPC back in the town. He eats enemies, and he's actually the only way you can get into Dungeon 2. As you can see, whitewolfos having some bad RNG on the Bow Wow eating. But Bow Wow allows us to get into Dungeon 2. He also kind of screws up your Piece of Power routing, as Gravone was mentioning. Any enemies that Bow Wow eats actually contributes towards your Piece of Power count, but you can't control when or what enemies Bow Wow eats. Wolfos picking up Piece of Power right where she wants it. With some exceptions, you can kind of manipulate sometimes the Bow Wow RNG, but it's tough and situational.
Also, apparently he's a dog.
Bow Wow? Yeah, so that was confirmed. So both runners getting Piece of Power right where they want it in D2. One of the earlier rooms allows us to get that increased movement speed and substantially increase the speed at which you can go through the dungeon here. Got to be careful though, because those 3 hits from enemies will cause you to lose it.
Now, these three hits to lose it is going to... We're going to see it more in Dungeon 5 if either of these runners get it in Dungeon 5. Because that's where it becomes quite difficult to hold on to it for the rest of the dungeon once you have it. So, whitewolfos actually getting hit by Henoch. And mghtymth as well.
mghtymth as well, yes.
That's
uncommon.
That's quite funny to see both runners grabbed by it. You also notice that mghtymth has his sword on the correct button as well.
On the correct button, is that what you said there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is there any way? I don't know if I have like privileges to kick you out of Discord. I can mute you. That might work.
Okay, so we're getting up to probably the most annoying room in this dungeon. So you have to kill these 3 enemies in a set order. You have to kill the bunny and then the bat and then the Stalfos. Both of them getting okay RNG.
So whitewolfos heading up to the Dungeon 2 boss right now. So normally on this boss, you have to kind of wait for an attack cycle, which you're about to see in a second, pick up the pot with your newly acquired bracelet, slam the pot against the wall by throwing it into the wall, do that 3 times, and then kind of defeat the boss from there once the pot breaks from slamming into the wall 3 times with your sword. But what we'll be seeing is Wolfos picking up the pot for the first time right here, clipping into a wall, which actually allows us to throw the pot once and break it immediately, because the game, I guess, just doesn't know how to handle that. And then 1 carefully placed bomb and 1 bomb arrow into the wall after that. Ooh, actually missing the bomb arrow there for whitewolfos. But 2 bombs defeats the boss after that, so kind of a quick kill strat. We'll see if mghtymth can get it. Oh, mghtymth missing it as well. Nevertheless, both runners still pretty close.
So something that we haven't mentioned yet is how tight the bomb and arrow routing is in this run. If they're not careful with their bombs and arrows, they could find themselves running out, particularly with arrows.
Bombs too, depending on what kind of strats you opt to go with. There's, I guess, some safety strats. I guess the safety strat would be omitting some other strats in order to save some bombs. whitewolfos picking up the heart piece of shame there. Waste a couple seconds. You should never do that. It's basically bannable, but there's worse things you could do in the run.
Well, one way of saving arrows is in Dungeon 5 against the mini boss, where you could drop 2 bombs and fire 1 more bomb arrow, whilst the quickest strat is usually 1 bomb arrow and then 2. No, 1 bomb and then 2 bomb arrows. Well, that's what people normally do.
So both runners heading up to a trick called Villa Skip. This allows us to skip a section of the game where you have to go up to this castle, fight a bunch of enemies, find 5 golden leaves. Is it 5? I believe it's 5. Complete the side quest to get the Dungeon 3 key. But with some kind of abusive pit mechanics, you can kind of get shoved down into this maze that whitewolfos is kind of slashing her way through now, and pick up this, what seems to be golden leaf, but is actually the D3 key. You could probably go into more depth than that if you want, but Wolfos will be doing the same sort of pit mechanic manipulation here to get out of this maze. There you go.
I've not actually seen anyone properly explain how you get out of there.
The biggest problem I see with Villa Skip and commentating is that you don't have enough time to explain it, because it's done by the time you're ready. Unless someone
has really bad RNG. But one of the commentators yesterday referred to it as the most RNG, non-RNG trick in the game.
That's accurate, actually. There's global frame rules that you can't really do anything about. It's actually an awful trick, but it saves a lot of time, so we still do it. And then, as you might have seen on whitewolfos screen, and as you're about to see on mghtymth screen, you're normally supposed to go all the way around this dungeon and unlock it, but if you face up, clip into the keyhole that way, you can actually unlock it next to the entrance, saving quite a bit of time. whitewolfos having a little bit of trouble with the super jump there. So both runners are going to be looking for a piece of power. Ooh, Wolfos actually picking up Acorn. That's not good.
So at this point, Wolfos wants to take 3 hits of damage, because piece of power will not drop if you have an Acorn active. So she got rid of Acorn very quickly there, so that piece of power can still drop.
This is the room where she wants it to drop, and there it is. So a little bit of time lost due to the Acorn, but she's back on track. I think it's smart opting to just say, I'm going to take 3 hits, even though it wastes some time, because it makes this trick, which she just did, a lot easier. That trick is
risky.
Yeah, exactly. A super jump, charge the sword, do a spin slash in the air to kind of clink off the mini boss, the Dodongos there. That allows you to get to this section of the dungeon early and get the boots. You can soft lock on that trick, which Wolfos actually did on her last race. So I think getting rid of the Acorn and grabbing the piece of power there was kind of a safer, smarter strat. So I'm glad that she did that.
Actually, I believe we've had 2 soft locks on there. One being myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, soft locked against Alos. And,
that's the only part of the game that I really worry about soft locking on. There are a handful of places where you can soft lock, but that's probably the most common one, at least for me. So both runners getting through D3 without any soft locks. Good to see. And actually, mghtymth getting a little bit of kind of gaining on whitewolfos because of that unfortunate Acorn that Wolfos had. Still a little bit ahead, though. Coming up, we have the D3 boss. I think Vitreous is the name. Normally, you kind of avoid the ground pounds with Feather, do some spin slashes, but with Piece of Power and with some boots timing, slamming against the wall, we can kind of make this fight a little faster.
Mighty losing a ton of time there trying to do something that saves maybe 1 second.
Yeah, I actually saw him asking about that in Discord the other day, about the timing on that jump. In that room he was in having trouble with, you can go down and do like kind of a fancy mid-air jump with the boots, or you can just slam against the thwomp and get through it, kind of like the casual way. I suggested that he do it the casual way. He opting for the faster strat, but having a little bit of trouble with it.
To be honest, unless you're 100% on there, there's no reason to actually try and do it the quick way.
Yeah, I actually
saves
don't do
such
that
a
at all.
little amount of time.
Yeah, I don't even bother myself. So how do we explain bomb triggers, Carbone? Is there a way to explain them?
I feel anyone that tries to explain bomb triggers will explain it as a completely different way, and they're gonna be wrong. Everyone is wrong about bomb triggers. Don't actually know why they work, even though some people think they do.
So here's the way I would explain them. If you drop 2 bombs within, I believe, 4 frames of each other, the game freaks out. We don't know why it freaks out, but it causes certain events to happen. Maybe when they shouldn't. But normally you can't drop a bomb after you've already dropped a bomb. So we can get around this by doing things like dropping a bomb, performing a screen transition, and dropping another bomb right after. Dropping bombs into pits lets us do this. There's a few ways we can do it. What you'll see on whitewolfos' screen is actually the screen transition method. So she just dropped 2 bombs, and that triggered a cutscene to happen. Normally, to make this cutscene happen, you need the ocarina, you need Marin, a character from the beginning of the game. You need to bring Marin here, play a song on the ocarina, I believe, because I haven't done this casually in a long time. And that makes this walrus, which is blocking our path, fall into the water, because he loves the music so much. But with bomb triggers, she can actually trigger that event to happen without the ocarina, without Marin, and get through the walrus that way. What you can't see now is that she's actually locked out of her A and B button. She can only move with the D-pad, and she needs to enter a different area in order to unlock her item buttons. So she'll be entering this cave, leaving it.
Can't even open menus.
Can't even open the menu. So that's actually another, probably the biggest soft lock potential in the run besides D3. Is if you mess up walrus skip, if you don't do your movements right afterwards, there's different strats for making it more consistent. You can actually soft lock the game. You could get stuck in a cutscene. You can get, the walrus might not disappear. You can get stuck in an area where you can't do anything. You can't open a menu. So it could be a little scary. There's consistent strats. I didn't see what strat Mightymouth went with. whitewolfos
He went from the side.
Okay, whitewolfos going from the top, kind of a more, it's a more simpler strat. I go with that myself. Makes it pretty consistent. I don't see a lot of people soft block there. I can't remember the last time I've seen a soft block there, actually. But I feel like I've talked enough, so now you say something, Carbone.
Well, I was going to say, Crunchy's correcting you there in chat that you don't actually need the ocarina there casually.
Okay, okay. Not sure what whitewolfos... Oh, whitewolfos going the wrong way. We go through that area a few times, so if you're not 100% paying attention, you can, kind of do the wrong muscle memory and go the wrong way. Gives Mightymouth actually another catch-up opportunity as he goes the right way right off the bat.
So far in this tournament, no one's forgotten to open Dungeon 4, and I reckon it will happen in this tournament at some point.
I don't know. So as Carbone just kind of hinted at, both runners are going up to the Dungeon 4 keyhole and then going to complete a portion of Dungeon 4. It's easy to forget because we go through this area, this section of the overworld several times. So you can just take one wrong turn, go up actually where whitewolfos just was, and just totally forget to unlock D4. Waste a ton of time once you realize you forgot.
It's sort of a rite of passage to running this game.
I believe I've done it once, a long time ago.
I feel it happens to everyone at least once.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if no one forgot to unlock D4. It looks like both runners are remembering now, but it's possible.
I mean, more people have forgotten to open D4 than have done second try trend.
That's probably true.
Shout out to Stanner.
but it's usually not a repeat offense like training game. I fail trendy games sometimes, Stanner. I got your back. So whitewolfos coming up to one of the more important glitches in the game right here. Obstacle skip. Normally you have to dash through these weird tree trunk looking obstacles in order to make them disappear. But with some careful lineups, you can actually jump over one. Saves about half a second, I believe. Very costly if you miss it. She gets it. Oh, but she had it. But she's gonna try anyway. Determination. She opts to just dash through. I give her an E for effort. I believe mghtymth got it.
I think we just
go ahead.
I think we just missed a moonwalking moblin.
Oh, I get that all the time in the before unlocking
whitewolfos screen. I thought I was seeing things when I saw it, and then Dragon said it. I've never seen that before.
Oh, I see that all the time. If you can clip really far into enemies in this game and not take damage, and if you dash through that particular bokoblin or however you're supposed to say it, and you clip through the top of him and don't take damage, a lot of times he'll walk backwards. It's really weird. But I actually get it a handful of times, or I have gotten it a handful of times.
So they're neck and neck again, and they're in dumb jump room number 1.
Yeah, this room, normally you're supposed to break that block that's impeding your path with a bomb, but we can actually jump around it. This is going to be
interesting.
Yeah, we can actually jump around it and avoid the Tektite and open the chest. It's quite finicky, and then you have to worry about the enemies once you're there. mghtymth eventually getting it, whitewolfos opting to break the block, both runners getting it at about the same time, though. That jump is truly dumb.
You know what would have been truly funny? 5 minutes of them just trying to get around it.
Yeah, I don't think that would happen. I think, I mean, I think it's smart from whitewolfos to break that block the casual way eventually and just say, you know what, this isn't working out. Let's just get rid of this. Let's go.
Which one's dumb jump room number 2? Is it the one in Dungeon 5?
Yeah, the Dungeon 5 boss key jump. So whitewolfos having a little bit of trouble with the mini boss there. mghtymth kind of actually taking the lead because he was able to get through it fine. Now you'll notice that both runners are actually going to leave Dungeon 4 now. We're not going to complete it yet, and that's to avoid a side quest that would normally trigger. Yeah, that is not.
whitewolfos losing piece of power.
That is not where she wanted to see that. Go ahead.
That's like the worst place to see it as well. Because Dungeon 5 piece of power is by far the most impactful piece of power in the route. Dungeon 5 is the longest dungeon in this speed run. So being able to move quicker, you get more out of it. So sometimes you get in Dungeon 4, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I always say that piece of power in Dungeon 5 saves anywhere between 20 and 30 seconds, depending on how your movement optimization works out. So
Mighty lost his as well.
Oh, did he? Just on the buzz blob there? So both runners look like they're not going to be getting Dungeon 5 piece of power, so we'll be seeing a slow Dungeon 5, but it'll keep the run a little closer, because if mghtymth would have gotten it there, he could have really pulled ahead. whitewolfos is still pretty close.
Now, we might actually still see piece of power in Dungeon 5, but near the end. And at that point, they'll actually opt not to get it, because we'll talk more about the boss when they get there, but the boss can be a bit of a pain for piece of power.
Yeah, I think there is only one runner who prefers to do the boss with piece of power, and that's Zorlax. Shoutouts.
The thing is Zorlax a runner or is he a machine?
I think that those are not mutually exclusive, so he can be both. So there's a lot of annoying enemies in Dungeon 5. There's the Helmosaurs, which you have to be behind and slash twice with your sword. There's these Stealthos, which you can see on mghtymth's screen. They're really annoying. Normally take 2 hits. Piece of Power also helps in this department because it does double damage. So 1 slash to these Stealthos or the Helmosaurs would defeat them with Piece of Power, but both runners just having normal swords, so this takes a little bit longer. So if you stack that up with the movement speed, you can see how important it is to have in this dungeon, really.
Now, the other thing is dumb jump number 2, which is the boss key jump, which we'll see in a bit. That is considerably harder without piece of power.
I've heard some people say it's easier. I know there's some save and quit runners. In save and quit route, we don't get piece of power or at least not. I don't know enough about save and quit, but I know they don't get it for Dungeon 5 because you can save and quit, and actually do a lot of route optimization that way. And I know that Hakua says that he thinks that jump's a little easier without Piece of Power.
Well, I guess it depends on the person, but in terms of the amount, like with Piece of Power, you basically have more frames to actually get the jump right. It's sort of more forgiving.
So both runners heading up to the second phase of the recurring mini-boss in this dungeon, Master Stalfos. 2 bombs per phase, unless you're talking about the first or last phase, in which case it takes 3 bombs. After those 2 bombs, you kind of just have to wait for them to leave the screen, so it's kind of an odd timing thing. Might look like they're kind of sitting around for a while, but they are doing it optimally.
This is insane how close this race is.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, Mightymouth now a little behind. Whitewolfos going up to the third Master Stalfos fight. Looks like she's opting to, well, I guess she doesn't know the 2-bomb setup. You can actually spin slash him once and get 2 bombs on him in one cycle, kind of what Mightymouth's doing right here. So he might be able to gain on her that way. Little sequence break, super jump there.
I think this will make the difference, though.
This could make the difference, so both runners approaching Dumb Jump 2 now.
Mighty Mouth doing something we've not seen yet in the run, and that's a swordless super jump.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it earlier, but there's several ways you can do a super jump, and you don't actually need the sword or arrows to do it. Whitewolfos getting Dumb Jump 2 pretty fast. Mighty Mouth failing it once.
First try. Or second try.
Mighty Mouth getting it pretty quickly too, getting the line up, and then second or third try, I didn't quite see, but
missing the chest.
I do that a lot on that chest, especially without Piece of Power. That's another thing. This Piece of Power, it's so ingrained in your muscle memory that when you go through this dungeon without having it, you do a lot of weird stuff like missing chest opens, and it's awful. Whitewolfos in party room take 2. Gotta kill all these enemies to get the door to open. Can be kind of finicky depending on what the kind of RNG the Helmosaurus choose to give you.
Now, we're saying Piece of Power has dropped, but at this point she doesn't actually want it because she'll have to lose it before the boss, and it would also give a text box. At this point, it's probably not worth getting.
I think it might be optimal there to get it, but
it might have been in that room.
It's a little riskier because then she has to take a lot of damage, and she's not super high on health here, so maybe a little safer strat to actually opt not to get it. Really low on the arrow count there.
The advantage of this dungeon, though, is that there is a lot of Stalfos in this dungeon, and including 3 that have to be killed to open the door. And Stalfos tend to have quite a high chance of dropping hearts.
So Wolfos opting to equip her newly acquired hookshot here to defeat the enemies a little easier. Good strat if you don't have Piece of Power at this point. Mighty Mouth saying, you know what, I'm gonna stick to my sword strats, but having a little bit of trouble.
You could powder them.
Does anyone do that, actually?
Me. So yeah, so Whitewolfos' arrow count is quite low at the moment, but in the Almost Maze, and this is where Bow Wow becomes a friend. So in the Almost Maze, which we'll see after this dungeon on the way to getting the Dungeon 6 key, Bow Wow will sometimes eat the armors, and if he does, there's a 100% chance that an arrow will drop from those armors. So you usually get about 2, 3, sometimes even 4 arrows going through that maze, and that's usually enough to get to the next arrow pickup in Dungeon 6.
So both runners now on the Dungeon 5 boss, Wall Snake, opens up 4 holes in the wall. You have to pull him out of whatever hole he pops open in with the hook shot, and then slash him with the sword. Takes 8 hits with the sword, with or without piece of power, actually. There's a strat in which you can, no matter what RNG he gives you, get a 2 cycle. White Wolf was having a little bit of trouble with it. Mighty Mouth having a little bit of trouble as well. So kind of at this point, you're at the mercy of RNG unless you can kind of get your lineup back. I don't know if White Wolf has actually got any hits on it yet. There you go.
So the reason why you don't want piece of power for this is that, as Alfredo said, you don't actually gain extra damage on it. Now, the knockback from piece of power will actually provide this boss with immunity frames as well. So it's much, much harder to get a 2 cycle with piece of power.
So Mighty Mouth getting past the boss and White Wolfos shortly after. So a lot of back and forth from these runners. It's been a good race so far. Shoutouts to Vape Mate for pointing out what I just said in chat.
So yeah, this looks unfortunately like a run that is going to come down to RNG in the final boss potentially. Although
there's a lot of RNG to be had still, including P6.
I guess there's still Dungeon 7 in them.
And Dungeon 7, that's true, depending on what strats they go with. I don't know if Mighty Mouth is going to go for Goomba Surf. I don't think Wolfos did in her last race, but I can't quite remember.
I want to say Dungeon 7 is really hard for newer runners nowadays.
Yeah, it's a difficult dungeon. There's a lot of technical glitches that we go with in there. So as Carbone mentioned earlier, both runners heading up to Armos Maze. What were you about to say, Carbone?
I was going to say, we'll see Dungeon 7 later. We just totally destroy in the speedrun.
Yeah, it's incredibly short compared to the casual playthrough.
Remember where you when you played it casually? Well, it doesn't look anything like that now.
So you can see on Mighty Mouth's screen kind of what Carbone was talking about earlier, kind of bumping through the Armos here, but also depending on Bow Wow a little bit to eat some of the enemies. In this area in particular, depending on where you line up on the screen and depending on what you do, you can kind of manipulate Bow Wow into eating some of these Armos. Mighty Mouth taking a lot of damage, though. He's going to have trouble because we have to actually go back through this area. It's
usually entering, like, how you enter the screen sort of manipulates Bow Wow. Now, if I were Mighty here, after I kill this Armos, I'd actually take an intentional death if I were him.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that, because each Armos does 2 hearts of damage. So all he has to do is run into one on accident, and he has to die. And dying after this mini-boss, depending on where it is, can be pretty costly. White Wolfos getting a boot strats, kind of killing the boss without avoiding the ground pounds, or avoiding the ground pounds by using boots rather than feather.
There's also the bomb fairies that can be really hazardous.
Yeah, there's a lot of dangerous enemies. So Mighty Mouth going for it. Like I said, 1 hit from an Armos, and he's done for.
Now, if anyone were to actually take an intentional death here, it wouldn't count as a wrong warp, because they would still have to go through the same screens that they did before they died.
Yeah, a death here means you're going to pop up back where that mini-boss was. So you'll see how far they go in the overworld, and that's going to hold true until they enter the next cave. And the next cave is pretty far away from that mini-boss. So like we said, like we mentioned earlier, a death here is pretty costly. White Wolf was also really low on health here, 1 heart.
Oh, Mighty getting lucky with getting a heart drop there.
White Wolfos opting to throw a rock at the Tektite there. That was a nice, safe strat. I liked that. Another one there on the Bomb Fairy. Good RNG there for her.
Sometimes when you throw something at Bomb Fairy, you do get a fairy out of it. But neither of them have gotten it. And Mighty Mouth getting the worst placed acorn I've ever seen.
You can actually jump there and enter the stairs and pick up the item, the power-up, on the same frame. It actually saves time based on over what he did. He probably has never tried that, though.
and he's a Zorlax. We call that pit the Zorlax pit because a runner Zorlax once fell in. These are good reasons to name things.
Wolfos just missed it there. Mighty Mouth actually got it. What you can do there is the way the game renders cutscenes is as an enemy on the screen. And as we mentioned earlier, Bow Wow can actually eat enemies. And because the game renders cutscenes as enemies, you can actually make Bow Wow eat the cutscene, cutting that dungeon opening cutscene short. So Wolfos missed it. You can actually manipulate where the enemy pops up, the quote-unquote enemy pops up on the screen based on where you explode a bomb, I guess it is, or bomb arrow in that case. So it saves a little bit of time. I think Wolfos would have been in better shape if she would have gotten it, because that enemy, the cutscene enemy, actually can drop a heart. But she ended up taking an intentional death at the beginning of D6, which is probably smart.
I think it's also due to the fact that she had already seen a piece of power go as well. So there was no reason not to sort of take the safety death.
Both runners still really close here, though.
I wonder if Mighty's gonna get the fairy under the pot, if he even knows there's a fairy under the pot in the next room.
Picking a piece of power there, that might be a good time save for him.
So whitewolfos getting the fairy. Yes, he does know about it. So both runners.
Go ahead.
Both runners getting the safety fairy.
I consider Dungeon 6 one of the least dangerous dungeons. There's a couple kind of heart pickups on the way that you can get that aren't that fairy, actually. And there's not a lot of enemies you have to face. You'll see that Mighty Mouth is about to approach a room where a bunch of floor tiles fly at you, and he'll probably abuse a glitch where if you clink the hookshot off of that pot there, like you just saw him do, and Wolfos does the same, you can actually get invincibility from these tiles, or I think any enemy, actually. And it just makes this a nice little break for the runners.
Yep.
Wow, same room, same heart count.
They've been in the same room for the past, I don't know, 15 minutes. This is crazy close.
So both runners going for a little trick where you drop one bomb, kill all 4 Wizrobes at the same time. Both runners actually missing it. Easy trick to miss if you're not very consistent with the lineup, but they're actually still just about tied.
It's like they're trying to do synchronized speedrunning. They're both missing the same thing at the same time.
So you'll see both runners going through a couple super jumps and probably a flock clip here, kind of doing some sequence breaks. The last super jump you'll see here actually does have soft block potential. There's a consistent lineup for it. It's not too difficult, but it is possible. Soft block, that is. They're very close here. Mighty Mouth having a little bit of trouble with the lineup. Wolfos getting it pretty quickly.
I thought that was very close for Mighty.
For a soft lock, that is?
Yeah. But both runners getting it safely, thankfully. Because this is a good race so far. I wouldn't want to see either of them soft lock on that.
We could see some time loss or some time gain from both runners. Right now, they're both approaching this room with horse heads.
Imagine they both get it first time.
Mighty Mouth getting it very quickly. I didn't see if that was first try for him.
Yeah, that was first try.
Like Wolfos not getting as fortunate with the RNG. I think that was 5th try. So a little bit of time lost for her. So Mighty Mouth coming up to the Dungeon 6 boss Facade. Giant face in the ground. You just drop bombs on his face. He dies. He actually, his hitbox appears before the fight really even starts. And you'll see both runners get 3 bombs off before even his text box pops up. And even he has his first, my English is so good right now. Before he even fires his first attack. Probably easiest boss in the game. Another nice little break for the runners.
Mighty actually missed 1 bomb, and as a result, whitewolfos has gone back ahead. You miss one bomb, and you go first or second.
I always say this run is so dense with just tricks and mechanics that it's easy to lose time over a couple little things like that.
Alright. Oh, I just want to say this. I called it when I said this is a close race.
I didn't disagree, so I'll take credit for that as well.
So, we didn't explain why they didn't complete Dungeon 4.
I touched on it a little bit. There's actually a side quest that you have to complete after Dungeon 4, and that side quest, until you complete it, you're not able to enter any other dungeons. So there's two ways to get past that. You can either do the side quest, or you can pick up the level 2 bracelet, and the game registers as, hey, you're far enough, you've completed that side quest. So both runners did half of Dungeon 4, completed Dungeon 6, where they got the level 2 bracelet, and now they're free to go back and finish off Dungeon 4 without having to do that side quest.
So both of them missing the bomb trigger on the owl.
Yeah,
If
I would
you
say
get
that's a
that
little
bomb
risky to go for there.
If
Just
you
'cause of
get
the
that bomb
counts.
trigger, it basically saves a few seconds because it stops the owl having to fly onto the screen and off again. It just gives you the text box.
Yeah, bomb count will become very important in D7, a dungeon coming very soon, actually. So I expected both runners to just opt to take the couple second time loss, but they both went for it and both burned one bomb with no time gain.
Wolfos has 15 bombs. I want to say that's okay.
I think that's okay. I usually find myself closer to 20 there, even with the bomb trigger on the cutscene there. So it seems a little low to me, but I think she does have enough, and I believe Mighty Mouth has a couple more, so he has enough as well.
Because you need 3 for this boss unless you do the spin slash method, in which case you need 2. And then you need 9 for Dungeon 7 before the next pickup.
So Wolfos and Mighty Mouth soon here, going for a fancy little super jump here, where you kind of jump up, clink off of the P-hat, and that allows you to get down to this area without going through a sub-area. Getting it second try on White Wolfos screen. If Mighty Mouth gets it first try, it's going to be a nice time game, and maybe he'll have it. Ooh, he misses it, though. He could have caught up there.
Now, there's quite a bit of timing on this as well, because you can't just do it straight away, because the P-hat actually has to be high enough for you to get all the way over. So they have to wait for a bit before they can do it. And White Wolfos saving an arrow and then wasting a bomb arrow.
Yep.
Pulled a Cravone there.
Not quite as bad as pulling a Carbone. A little better, but still a waste of a bomb nonetheless. And an arrow in that case.
Am I allowed to shout out to myself?
I'll allow it. That's fine.
So Mighty Mouth getting that. Perfect. So this actually does put White Wolfos in. So it sort of forces White Wolfos to do a buffer method, I would have thought, in Dungeon 7.
Yeah, I would say
Bomb
so.
triggers.
There's 4 bomb triggers and then 1 bombable wall in Dungeon 7. So that is a total of, what, 9 bombs?
total.
Yeah.
And she has 11 at this point, so there's not really much room for error.
Yeah, there is a bomb pickup in the dungeon that she can get, but it would be quite a time loss. So, as Cravone kind of pointed out there, she might go for a buffered version of some of the bomb triggers, kind of allowing her to play it safe, you know, and don't waste too many bombs, because it's easy to burn bombs in D7 if you're not careful.
We've had in the past, in the tournament last year, we had some runners who actually forfeited in Dungeon 7 because they completely forgot about the backup set of bombs when they ran out of bombs, throwing them down pits.
I guess you could also do the old strats and go get the giant ball and throw it into the pillars as well.
I think it's quicker to get the bomb pickup.
Oh,
You
I'm
have
sure,
to
but if you didn't
Remember,
know
it's
about
there.
it. Yeah, right.
So White Wolfos,
Having trouble with the
didn't it get? I thought she would have had it there.
I think she had it, but she kind of missed the directional inputs afterwards. And Mighty Mouth just saying, you know what, I didn't get the lineup. I'm not going for it.
Not liking the lack of effort, Mighty Mouth.
Yeah, Wolfos at least giving us a good try. Yeah, as SNES pointed out in chat, a lot of newer runners probably won't know the old strats for D7. We do a ton of bomb triggers now. We used to actually do somewhat casual strats on a lot of the pillars.
Oh god, the hookshot jump over the pit with the ball. That was scary. Oh, whitewolfos falling straight away.
So we didn't mention this, but both runners are at a trick now called Rooster Skip. Normally you have to go awaken a dead rooster, do a bunch of side quests, get a bunch of items, including the ocarina, and you get a rooster, bring it to this area with a giant pit, and it allows you to fly over the pit and get to the Dungeon 7 key. But we abuse a glitch here where the game allows you to shoot the hook shot when you're on top of a pit about to fall down, and for 1 frame, when the hook shot is retracting back into Link, you can actually jump even though you're over a pit. So a frame perfect trick allows you to jump and then jump again, so 2 frame perfect tricks really, and you can get across this pit without the rooster. Wolfos going for a buffered method, getting it second try, not very bad. Mightymouth looks like he's going for buffered as well. He fell too, this is also his second try.
Yeah, he got trolled by Bow Wow. Oh no.
He's getting
Let's hope
trolled
he gets
again,
it now
but
because he's
yeah,
falling
second try.
otherwise. Ooh.
So Bow Wow can troll you there. If Bow Wow kind of heads over to where Link is, the hook shot won't come out and will clink off of Bow Wow, making you fall a lot faster. But both runners getting second try Rooster Skip, keeping the race close actually.
No, that's for newer runners. That is probably the hardest trick in the run, and even for some of the more experienced runners, that some of the more experienced runners will do an unbuffered method of that, and they will fail it from time to time.
Yeah, you can get trolled by RNG, you can get trolled by frame rules, you can just, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's double frame perfect, game runs at almost 60 frames per second, so it's a tough trick for anyone.
It's not uncommon to see people lose runs or fail it in races, even at the highest of caliber.
Yeah, when you fall to that pit, you actually lose somewhere between 20 and 30 seconds because you actually fall out of that little sub area and you have to run all the way back up the stairs and get back into it and try again. So it's a very frustrating trick to miss because you don't just respawn at the beginning of the room like most areas. Wolfos getting a cutscene eat for the D7 unlock cutscene. Saves a little bit of time. Mightymouth getting it as well. Still neck and neck, really.
So we're going to see from whitewolfos sort of a short super jump here, where you have to actually time the super jump quite late in your jump, otherwise you're going to get into the wall. Both are on this game, usually.
And whitewolfos is about to come up to the first of many bomb triggers. She actually has to kill this Zol first. There she goes. And then these bomb triggers will knock down the pillars, 4 pillars to access the boss area, I suppose. Getting the first one.
As predicted, she's doing buffered.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move. There's actually she's doing the screen transition method. There's actually a method where you can drop bombs into this pit, and you can do that unbuffered.
Well, he's doing it buffered into the pit.
Wolfos only has 3 bombs left. That's exactly how many she needs. So if she wastes 1, which I don't anticipate her doing, she'll be in trouble. Going for a naked super jump here, having a little bit of trouble with it, but getting it. And then she'll go for a buffered, probably bomb trigger right here as well.
Ooh, Mighty coming awfully close there. If he had missed that bomb trigger, he would have had to go and get an extra pair of bombs.
Both runners have just finishing with the exact amount of bombs that they need to get through the dungeon.
God, that's pretty scary seeing both runners with 0 bombs at any point in this speedrun.
So we use 3 bombs to kill the dungeon boss, unless you're Gravone, but luckily there's a bomb pickup right here for whitewolfos and for Mightymouth as well, once he gets to that area.
For me, it takes three hits with the fire rod.
Yeah, for you it takes another dungeon. So Wolfos...
We'll see that tomorrow.
Wolfos going for a fancy super jump, which you kind of missed there. I think she might have dropped a frame or two. To get the boss key, or to skip the boss key, rather. Mightymouth going for a trick that's RNG dependent. Super jump into the Skoomba, get into the...
Getting it.
First try, maybe.
He got it first try, but...
He failed the super jump.
He didn't go far enough.
So that super jump is pretty tight, the execution on it. You can get stuck in the wall like he did.
He also picked up a second set of bombs. I'm not sure why he why he went down the stairs there?
Well, he wanted to respawn that Goomba.
Oh, right, yeah.
So now he has to wait for good RNG again. Unfortunately, missing it on that first try is really going to hurt him. Wolfos having no problem with the Dungeon 7 boss, Evil Eagle.
whitewolfos definitely edging out a bit here.
Looks like Mighty Mouth's opting just to go for the P-Hat super jump, same that whitewolfos did. Having a little bit of trouble with it. He has to be careful because if you get knocked into that area to the left or to the area above the Beamos, which he just did, you actually have to do an unclipped super jump here, which is a little tricky. Let's see if he knows the strat to do it, though. He did. Okay, good. Good.
Yeah. After the last... I have to say, after the last race, both me and Riddler told him how to do that. Because in his last race, he had the same problem where he couldn't get all the way over with the Goomba Surf.
So whitewolfos just missed a trick that allows you to... It's basically actually just kind of missing the route there. We go to D8 after D7. We do the dungeons in the intentional order, with the exception of that D4 oddity where we kind of do D4 in two parts. You're not supposed to be able to get to D8 the way we get to it from D7, but we can kind of time a save and quit menu to get across this pit that you normally fall down. whitewolfos didn't time it right and fell down the pit anyway, so she's going to have to go a long way around to get back to D8. That might allow Mighty Mouth to catch up.
Big time loss.
Yeah. This could be a close race again once both runners get into D8. Yeah, she does get to do another obstacle
This could close the gap. Man, this run is still going to be... They're going to be on Naganim at the same time.
I believe so.
Calling it now. That's if Mighty doesn't fall in.
Another thing we don't talk about a lot, actually, in the commentary, or at least that I haven't, is item routes. You can only have 2 items on your buttons at a time, obviously. And memorizing where those items are at any point in your run is a huge time save. And when you mess up the route like this, like what whitewolfos did, you really risk... basically, you have to do extra equips, and that really messes up your menu routes. And that can waste a lot of time, because now she has to kind of react to where her menu is and kind of the setup. That's really frustrating for any runner. And it could result in a huge time loss.
So, they're on the same screen at the same time again.
They're very close. Yeah, very close. So, by some bizarre twist of fate...
This is crazy. I mean, one of them gets, like, bad skipping the boss key. Another falls down the hole, and suddenly they're neck and neck once again.
So the screen that actually both runners are on right now actually has a 45-second cutscene if you talk to Marin here, but if you stay towards the bottom of the bridge there, you can actually avoid the cutscene, and both runners getting past it. Mighty Mouth making me nervous there.
Nervous there.
Yeah, he was making me nervous.
So, just wanted to get away from Marin as quick as possible.
Both runners still very close. Both runners actually going through the same set of stairs twice. This is insane.
I haven't seen anyone ever do that, and then suddenly 2 people doing the same.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever done that one.
And this is the most hilarious race I've ever seen. Mighty getting trolled by some falling cabbages.
whitewolfos coming up to a trick called Flame Skip. Normally we need the D7 item, the Mirror Shield, to get past this, but if you clip into the wall, kind of just dash through it, it's no problem. Picking up an unfortunate piece of power, actually. That's probably a time loss for whitewolfos. You have to menu to get rid of the text. It's not a whole lot of running until she gets into D8, so that's a little frustrating, actually.
Imagine if we managed to route D8 piece of power. Also, that moblin has to die before you can actually do this bomb trigger.
So normally you need the ocarina here, play a song to kind of activate the turtle head, defeat the mini-boss in order to get into D8, but we can activate it with a bomb trigger, preventing us from, well, not preventing us, allowing us to skip from the ocarina, and then you can kind of just clip through the turtle head there. It doesn't have a hitbox for some weird reason when it first spawns. Both runners still very close. whitewolfos having a little bit of trouble with a naked super jump here.
Not clipped into the right pixel.
There she goes. So that super jump actually skips, I don't even know how much of Dungeon 8, but allows you to skip the beginning chunk of Dungeon 8.
So, I always find with these races, like commentating D8 is sort of, you hope someone else is in another dungeon, because commentating D8 just doesn't happen, because Dungeon 8 is just like, it's just the standard dungeon. There's not really that much to really talk about
There
here.
are tricks. We're seeing mghtymth push this block from the side. It saves a tiny bit of time. We're seeing them do a couple super jumps. You'll see another super jump from whitewolfos here to kind of sequence break a little bit of the dungeon. But yeah,
Mighty giving up on that.
Yeah, not really actually the most interesting dungeon as far as the speedrun's concerned.
Probably the most interesting thing is that Dungeon 8 room.
Yeah, that's not even interesting. That's just frustrating.
Like the most interesting things in the speedrun about Dungeon 8 are the ones that are still there in a casual.
So whitewolfos on one of the D8 mini bosses there, Blano. There actually is a Blano skip, but it's out of bounds. Used to be in the run, but out of bounds rules kind of changed, I guess.
Well,
that was before my time, so.
Well, it was quite funny. So we redefined our out of bound rules after super jumps were found. So we had like a definitive definition. What we didn't realize is that Blano skip was out of bounds under that rule set, and no one realized for about 6 months. And then we realized, hang on, isn't this out of bounds? And then we banned it.
So both players picking up the magic rod there allows you to shoot fireballs. We used to do D8 before D7, and we actually used this item to defeat the D7 boss, Evil Eagle. But we actually do some people still do that route. But we actually do the dungeons in the intended order now, so we don't get to see a lot of action from the fire route, except for one important glitch.
I sort of feel the fire rod is more the Link's Awakening item rather than the Link's Awakening DX item. I feel our item is the hook shot.
So both runners on everyone's favorite room, D8 puzzle room. You have to cover the entire floor with this weird puzzle block that you have to push around with your D-pad once you push it once. It's easy to mess up. The controls are really finicky on it, but both runners getting through it, no problem. Not opting to do some of the optimal strats with jumping, but playing it safe, getting through that room, no problem.
Avoiding save and quitting as well.
That's true. It's very costly to save and quit in that room, especially on PB pace.
It's almost like you speak from experience.
That might have happened to me once, actually. I can't quite remember. So Wolfos on the D8 boss Hothead. Looks like she might get a 1 cycle? No, missing the 1 cycle just narrowly, but getting a quick 2 cycle. This boss's health is basically RNG, is what I think I've decided. TGH and I have decided that, I think.
I don't think anyone can... What the hell was he doing?
I'm not sure what that was. That was really weird. I've never seen the boss move in that pattern
I mean, we're gonna have to view the VOD on that, because that was a bit weird.
Yeah, was he going left and right?
Yeah. I always thought he was gonna disclude there.
You know what?
I really did.
I didn't notice on Wolfos. Wolfos no Wang and mghtymth no Wang. That's dishonorable, to say the least.
Both bound. Neither of them win this race.
You know what? I'll give whitewolfos credit, though, for the obstacle skip attempts. So both runners running up to the final area, the windfish egg, kind of using the fire rod to get past these flowers along the way.
Man, one of them's gonna get one blue ball, the other one isn't. And it's going to be whoever enters first as well.
I think we're going to have to sit at the cutscene at about the same time for both runners, too. So that's just wonderful.
This is going to be crazy. So, We should probably explain the boss now, because there is a lot to explain in the boss.
Yeah, so both runners really quickly before that are going to do a bomb trigger here to trigger this cutscene, which you normally use the ocarina for once you have all the dungeon instruments. This is going to open up the final area. It's a long cutscene, so we have some time now. The boss, Nightmare boss, several phases. Go ahead, Carbone.
Okay, so the first thing that's RNG, they're going to try and do a text skip using bomb triggers when they enter the room. Sometimes it doesn't work. Second bit of RNG, they're going to try and get a quick kill by standing on a correct pixel with the sword out. RNG. It's also RNG if you get it, whether it's going to outright kill the first phase or not. Then we've got Aghanim, which he will fire 2 yellow balls, you have to reflect it back. And then he'll fire... then you have to land 2 more yellow balls. Now, at that point, you've got to hit him 2 times after that. And it's 50-50 on whether it's a yellow ball or a blue ball. And unlike Link to the Past, there is no cap. It can be blue balls for days. RNG. And then we got Moldom Quick Kill. That's not RNG, that's pixel perfect. Then we got Ganon, then Lamola. Apparently he's called Lamola. And then Bethel's RNG as well.
Yeah, so tons of RNG in this final boss. This is actually really unfortunate for the speed run. It makes the run really frustrating. whitewolfos missing the text skip. Mighty Mouth could get a lead over her if he gets it. Almost going the wrong way in the maze. At least we'll have some final boss music, though. If you get that text skip, there's no music during the final boss until you get to the final phase.
So neither of them actually getting it. It's keeping things even more even. Although I guess if one of them got it...
Wolfo's not even going for the blob quick kill strat, just opting to use the powder. That
no, the pixel.
Looks like actually Mighty Mouth's doing the same.
Yeah, this is the second time they're using powder in the run.
So both runners getting to the Aghanim section, which, as Carbone pointed out, first 2 balls are guaranteed yellow or good balls. Everything after that is 50-50, and I don't know if you mentioned it, but there's nothing to from stopping you from getting infinite blue balls, so...
There's no cap.
We'll just have to see what kind of RNG they get.
Okay, fingers crossed, because this could be where it's decided. So Mighty getting the first hit, whitewolfos getting a blue ball. whitewolfos getting a hit, and Mighty getting a blue ball. It's all square now.
whitewolfos at 2, Mighty also at 2.
Oh my god, if they get the same amount of balls. Also, Mighty isn't going to PB, he's just misses PB.
whitewolfos still over 10 minutes ahead of PB, though. Both runners only getting 2.
Wow.
whitewolfos missing the Moldorm quick kill, though.
That so could be costly.
Yeah, she had a bit of a lead, but Mighty Mouth has gotten it, so...
I say it could cost the race, but then there's still Death the Witch.
Yeah.
But missing that quick kill is very costly.
It's still anyone's race at this point.
So we've... Oh no, what did Mighty do?
Oh, did he miss the spin slash? He has to spin.
Yeah.
Oh no, he got it though.
Oh my god. Okay, so yeah. The last phase of the last boss of the game, and then neck and next.
Yep. So 16 hits from the arrows here. Boss has to open his eye first. You can get 4 hits per cycle. Totally RNG when he decides to open his eye. Mighty Mouth looks like he's getting pretty good RNG. whitewolfos getting some hits in as well. Still really close though.
We're going on SRL timing, so it's whoever done's first, not whoever's got the shortest time on the timer. Looks like Mighty's got the win.
So close, though.
So close. Mghtymth finishing with an SRL time of 1 hour, 9 minutes and 4 seconds. whitewolfos with a time of 1 hour, 9 minutes and 12 seconds.
That is what is that? Roughly 16-minute PB for whitewolfos? A little bit more than that, actually.
That's
wow.
That's crazy. 8 seconds in it. 8 seconds in that race.
That's
I
probably
thought that was
going to
be our tied race.
That's insane.
And that was insanely close.
So I don't know how much time we really have for interview here. What do you think,
GG,
Pravon?
We don't have time for interviews.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, now that I'm looking at, we're kind of butting up
Did-
to the next race.
Yeah,
aren't we?
we're when the next race should start.
Say that again? Okay. Okay, great.
All right. Okay, so that means we can.
Yeah, he's just gonna fix up the stream for the next race.
Okay.
We have Wolfos ready to go. I'm not sure if Mighty Mouth's gonna join us or not. Hello, Wolfos.
Hey.
So, grats on the huge PB, but wow, that you should have seen that from our end. That was insane.
Yeah, I like while I was moving into the staircase, I was moving over to like press done or type done, and he had already gotten it. Jeez.
8 seconds in it.
That must have been so close.
You were on death row at the same time. You started death row at the same time.
Wow.
So he just got slightly better death row RNG.
I think the Moldorm quick kill might have cost you that race, actually.
Yeah.
But
anything that costed 8 seconds could have costed that race.
So we'll get Mighty Mouth in here too, really quick. Hello, Mighty Mouth.
Hello.
So GG on the win.
Narrow win.
Very close win.
Did either of you realize how close it was at any point?
I did when I was going into the windfish and he hadn't said done yet, because I thought it was way behind, because after D7, like I missed that one jump where you're supposed to press the save and quit menu as you transition, and I had to like go all the way back around. So I had thought that, oh, I must be like far behind. But
yeah, Mighty struggled with Goomba Surf. And you falling down the pit actually brought the race back neck and neck again.
Yeah, it was really close the whole time. I mean, Wolfos would take the lead, then Mighty would take it back, and then it was a very exciting race actually.
Like for probably 90% of the race, there was maybe 10-15 seconds maximum in it between the two of you.
Wow.
Wow.
Well,
So
thanks for the good race, Mighty. Jeez.
Well, folks, we should race more often.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, congrats to Mighty Mouth for the win, and congrats on that huge over 16-minute PB for Wolfos.
Oh, congrats, Wolfos. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, on all the other previous attempts, I've always like failed on one of the bosses and had to like go back to the boss room 2 or 3 times. But this was the first time where I beat all the bosses first try. So
Obstacle skip could have costed this.
yeah.
I did appreciate the effort, though. I will say that.
Yeah. I guess I didn't do Wing Boys, did
Yeah, no, Mighty.
Neither of you did.
Yeah,
No.
So you both disqualified.
that's
both
yeah.
disqualified.
Boring.
Well, at least me having to take that long way around after D7 meant that I got in one obstacle skip, but because I didn't get the other
That's
ones.
true, actually. Yeah, you missed the save and quit menu after D7. That allowed Mighty Mouth to catch up, actually.
Did
Yeah.
you like hold a directional during save and quit? Because that cancels a save and quit. I found that out like 2 days ago or
Well,
so.
I think what might have happened is I think you did it on the previous screen rather
Yeah,
than on
I did it slightly early, like a split second before the screen transition happened, and then I was trying to do it again once the screen transition happened, but I do remember I was holding the directional keys, so I didn't know that canceled the save and quit menu. Huh. Well, something to know for next time, I guess.
So, Mighty, your boss key skip, you managed to get it this time.
Oh yeah. Thanks for the help, Crowbone.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. The backup strat after going to the top area. Yeah, I was glad to see you get that.
It's a lot easier than Goomba.
I agree. So we are kind of cutting into the next race's time. It looks like both runners are just about set up for the next race. Any final words from you, Cravone, Wolfos, Mighty Mouth? Anybody?
GG.
That was a brilliant race. Good
Yeah,
job,
that was
GG, guys.
GG.
very exciting.
I am very excited to go and watch this and see how close we were the whole time.
Yeah, definitely worth a watch. All right, well, I guess we'll move over to TGH and Stanner now. You guys are actually stuck with me. I'm doing commentary on that one, but
I
I'm
think
gonna ask.
Crunchy's jumping into.
Yeah, Crunchy should be here
as
in
well.
a second.
All right. Good luck commentating the next race, guys.
Thank you. So thank you, Wolfos. Thank you, Mighty Mouth. I already left, but thanks, Gravone. Get out of here. I'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.
See ya.
All right, thanks, guys. Hey, Crunchy.
Hello, did somebody say my name?
I did indeed. Am I right that you were commentating the Metroid Fusion race earlier?
You are correct. I certainly was.
That is one of the speed games I would actually love to learn. I love that game. Casually, I've beaten it several times. So I was actually watching that, and I was like, I think that's the same guy.
Yes, that is in fact me. And it's a lot of fun, so if you're looking for by all means, pick it up. But we're not here to talk about Fusion right now. We're here to talk about LADX, and we got a heck of a race here.
Yeah, we have current world record holder TGH versus Stanner 93, maybe better known for his Aegis speedrun, but no slouch with a sub-1 59.53 PB in LADX. Looks like Stanner's actually showing off a little bit of Oracle of Ages right now. I think he might give us a swag D2 jump here. Did he already do it? I might have missed it.
He might have?
I don't know, but nevertheless, the memes have already started.
What are you talking about? The memes never end.
That's true, actually. We did have the Corona in here, so we're actually a little bit less memes than we were a second ago, but, you know.
We better step it up then.
So, let me see if I can find the...
All right, according to the SRL, both runners have joined the race, so
Yeah,
just waiting for them to get ready up, and we too will be ready to get things rolling.
TGH opting for one more rooster skip practice, it looks like.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about rooster skip is no matter how many times you do it, you never quite feel 100% with it.
Yeah, I can't blame him on that one.
Although he's definitely got a tough act to follow for himself. I watched when he did his last race. He did flawless first try, no buffers.
Do you know what was his time on his other race?
Oh goodness,
I
can't remember. It was.
Looks like it was a 54:35. Wow, that's a very good race time.
It was, and his rooster skip left me shook for a moment. It was so good.
Yeah, that time would actually get you fifth place on the leaderboards if you got that right now, not including him. But yeah, that's an incredibly competitive time. So I think we'll be seeing probably a good showing from him.
Absolutely. So this is going to be a good race no matter how you slice it. So what it really just comes down to is how's the RNG going to treat both our racers, and if Stanner's going to bring the noise.
I don't know if you caught that previous race, but it was crazy.
Oh, absolutely I did. It was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, that was nuts. That was probably the closest race we're going to have, maybe.
Oh, it was... Now